right, Jennifer, I gotta tell you, I am not a fan of what I'm about to say out loud right now. I want to go on record. I want to let everybody in the world know that it's only under the most dire of circumstances that I would ever utter the words, 2016, could you just fucking stop?
I'm intrigued.
Could you just fucking stop 2016?
Yeah.
I'm really ready. Can we just, I'd never think, can we just skip?
Do you need an adult? I feel like you need an adult now.
I want to go on fall break from reality. I want to leave. I want to go on a Carnival Cruise Line just around the world.
You want to pull a Buffy Summers and go to LA for the summer.
You know it's bad when you're sitting there like, those guys that work on like an oil rig for 6 months out of the year? I could really just stand to just like leave and just go work on an oil rig. I mean, I die.
Leave everything.
Yeah. So, hey, everybody, on that happy note, welcome to the Rage Select Podcast. I am Jeff.
I'm Mayhem's Muse.
And yeah, so I, what? Last weekend, I walked around the Austin Comic Con, and that was great. But like, I came out of last weekend, and my stomach hurt to the point where WebMD was like, well, it's either cancer or appendicitis. And I was like,
oh, neither are fun options.
WebMD, you're such a drama queen. It's like, WebMD, my tummy hurts. What's wrong? And it's like, cancer.
You're dying. It's
yes.
fine.
You should seek medical help immediately. Mm-hmm. And as soon as my stomach stopped hurting, my dog got sick, which...
You gave it to poor Archer?
I don't know. I don't think so.
You gave it to Archer.
It would have to be, like, if it was something that I could have given to Archer, then I would still have it. I need to be in the hospital right now.
No, literally, you gave it to him. Like, he absorbed it for you.
Maybe he
took one for the team.
He did some dog mojo. Like, while I was asleep.
I believe it of Archer.
He got up on my chest and, like...
Sucked it all out.
And then he licked my nose a little bit.
What a team player. Gotta love an Archer.
No, I swear to fucking God, Jennifer, like 5 months, it's been like car, air conditioning, ringworm, your dog is sick.
I feel
like,
you.
I just wanted to stop.
I literally cannot with this year. I cannot.
I don't know.
Just stop.
Yeah. The only thing that's nice is that at least it's kind of cool outside. And Letters to Cleo put out a new EP.
Yeah, that's great.
Or a new one song that I can listen to.
They're taunting us with their new music.
I could squeeze the 90s juice out of just what little there is.
I'm channeling it today.
You are.
I am very much channeling it.
Like rolled up blue jeans, you got combat boots and flannel shirt. You even got the short 90s haircut.
I do.
You got the Rachel.
I am channeling. Oh,
well,
it is not the Rachel.
It's not the Rachel.
I do not have the Rachel haircut. Thank you all very much.
I'm sorry.
I have a very sharp bob going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Take that back. I am not a Jennifer Aniston.
You're so offended. I wasn't saying you're like Jennifer Aniston.
I don't like Jennifer Aniston.
Why not? What's wrong with Jennifer Aniston?
I don't know. Well, I mean, her acting work, I should say. I don't know anything about her personally, and I don't care to. It's just...
Well, she's been in a bunch of really crummy movies. Or, well, I don't know. I haven't watched half of them because I'm just like...
I got to meet her husband, Justin Theroux, when they were in town filming The Leftovers. That was cool.
I thought she was all right in that Horrible Bosses movie. She played the crazy...
I didn't like that movie.
Crazy Dennis.
But she was really good at being crazy.
Yeah.
Real good at it.
Yes. Welcome back to the Jennifer Aniston podcast where we're just...
Oh, God.
I bet there's one out there.
I'm out.
I bet if you go to Apple, you can find yourself a Jennifer Aniston-related podcast.
And they're all very offended right now. I'm so sorry. My apologies.
I think I can only imagine they're going to show up like, hey, man, stay off our turf. You're
talk about video games. On our area.
That's right. Jennifer Aniston is our whatever.
I'd rather talk about the 90s all day. Like, let's talk about Letters to Cleo some more.
Oh, man.
Some, like 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah,
some Heath Ledger.
God, I don't actually do this very often. Like, I don't do...
That's what she said?
Straight, yeah, I mean, sort of. I don't usually do, like, I don't know. Letters to Cleo is one of my favorite bands of all time. I have all three of their albums. I know every word to every song, like not just the soundtrack stuff, but like the core body of work that they have. And it really honks me off that
Wait. Did you just say honks me off?
This is a family podcast. We don't use words like shit and crap stain on this podcast, all right?
I've just never heard that before. My brain needed a moment to process. Go on.
Okay. And it really honks me off that they put a character in Parks and Recreation that was super into Letters to Cleo, because I feel like, I don't know, you got all these new fans coming in because they're like, they're fans of Parks and Recreation, and then
Why is this a bad thing?
Well,
why is it ever a bad thing for a new generation of people to fall in love with great music and stop listening to the crap that's being put out in plethora?
Yes. I guess I just worry that if I say I'm a huge fan of Letters to Cleo, people are just going to assume that it's because I saw them on Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, but you'll get into a debate with them and know all of the nomenclature and everything,
true.
And then your obvious not poserdom will come out.
I hope so.
I mean, that's like you can't stop loving something just because it's trendy at the moment.
Oh, I'm not going to do that.
I was just going to say, like, it's Letters to Cleo. What are you doing?
Yeah, but they're putting out a new EP, and they've got kind of like a weird Patreon thing where you can basically just go pre-order it. You can listen to the new single on there, and they also have a bunch of like stretch goal things where you can buy like some of their old posters and T-shirts and stuff like that. So, yeah, if you guys, I feel like Rage Select has been trying to figure out how to recommend music to me for a long time, and they keep trying. Go listen to the new Letters to Cleo single. Find me something that sounds like that. That's what I'm into. Somebody like gave me this whole big recommendation of stuff, and I'm just like, well, that is like the Decemberist who I don't care for, and that is like surf music, which I've already done, and that's fine, and that is just like 2004, and I don't care for that either. So
fair,
but
I'm interested to see this list.
Yeah. So what have you been up to recently, Jennifer? You've been on in a little while.
Let's see. I've been working a lot. The VR film company, we've been doing a lot of educational type stuff. I'm learning to post-process VR film and work with spherical compositors and all sorts of fun things like that.
That's got to be weird.
It's groovy and mind-boggling at the same time because I'm used to staring at flat footage.
Yeah.
So now it's like you have to open this special program that allows you to view it in 360, and you have to rotate it. Yeah, it's actually a sphere, and we put together all these different panels of things, and that's what we use to make like really sleek, streamlined VR or 360 video. It's really cool. Nobody else is doing it. Our company made the thing. Like they made the spherical compositor.
Okay.
So I'm getting to learn how to play with that. I spent earlier this week taking 44 VR and 360 videos and pouring through them for an awesome still clip to turn into title cards.
Oh, okay.
So I spent hours upon hours just pouring through video and finding stills for, it was great. It made for really great stream fodder, though. I ended up live streaming it
because it's kind of drudgy. So
I'm there. Yeah. I'm listening to music. I might as well be talking to people on stream while I'm doing it.
Fair enough.
There's that. I'm currently working on a compositing project that it's like this starry night kind of thing, like beautiful stars in the sky in a snow scene and mountains in the background. And then I had to composite in this old creepy church and these creepy trees. And now I'm compositing in this like New Orleans style mausoleum cemetery thing. So it's like all these different mausoleums and things. Let me just tell you, those things are a bitch to Photoshop. I mean, you've got like 10 to 12 different buildings of differing heights, and all of them have like the little steeples on the top of them, or the little church, the little crosses and things, and having to go in and just individually, and it's all in shades of gray and black. So you know, the what is it, masking only goes so far, and then you have to go in and it only goes so far. So I had to go. I spent like 3 hours today just going into like 200% and individual pixel deletion. That's my life right now.
I should show you 2 or 3 things in Photoshop if nobody has. That
yes, please.
Make
I'm
that
learning.
A little bit
I'm
easier,
relearning. My Photoshop days were when I was in high school in yearbook and newspaper, and that was the first generation of digital cameras. And it's been like 15 years since then, and everything is different and sophisticated.
There's a lot. There's some tricks. I took a whole class on it, but
I'm gonna be hitting you up for some advice.
Fair enough. I was actually a little surprised I didn't see you at the Austin Comic-Con last weekend.
Yeah, so I'm an introvert. I don't know if you know this. If I'm
that makes sense with streaming and cosplaying that you're really into. I hate people.
Well, I like people in very small increments that are very controllable. So if I'm at a con, it's because I'm A, working, or B, I have a booth, or I'm teaching a panel or something. So I don't often go just to go and be around people and peruse. And I'm like, I don't need to be spending more money. I just bought a bunch of stuff at the convention in Colorado I was coordinating. So like, I don't need to go and be tempted by things. I'm just going to stay home.
Oh, I spent $100 on stuff to put on my walls.
What'd you get?
You saw it was on my kitchen table. I found
those are
prints.
Yeah.
So it was like I'm not going to buy comic books. Even though I like comic books, I own comic books, but I'm going to buy like 2 comic books. I'm going to bring them home. I'm going to read them, and then it's like I'm done. But I found these 2 booths, and one of them was this guy that had these really nice, like, kind of flat color things, and they were like, what was it, $15 a piece or $10 if you buy 2 or more. And so I bought 4 of those, and I bought a couple of bigger ones. And I found this other guy that draws video game stuff like Japanese block print art.
Ooh.
And so I got one that's Chrono Trigger, and I got one that's Dark Souls. And
of course.
Well, I looked through the entire rest of Comic-Con, the Austin Comic-Con, for any other sign of Dark Souls anywhere, and I was just like, nope.
Boo.
Lots of Buckies, lots of Time Lords.
I'm sure.
I saw Judge Reinhold really briefly.
Oh.
Yeah. And then,
how did that go?
Well, she was just taking a picture with somebody else. I was like, hey, Judge. I mean, like, what?
Hey.
Oh, my God, Judge Reinhold, I love you.
That's how I felt at San Diego Comic-Con this season. Who did I see? Alan Tudyk.
Oh, yeah.
I saw Alan Tudyk. He was just wandering around, and I was like, oh,
I feel like he's got more cachet than Judge Reinhold.
He's a beautiful man. By the way, he got married recently. Congratulations to him. Yeah, beautiful wedding photos.
Cool.
So super cute.
To whom?
Somebody whose name I did not recognize,
okay,
but they
enough.
looked really happy.
All right.
She's taller than him. It's adorable.
No, I went with my friend called me up like 2 or 3 weeks before that and was like, do you want to go to Austin Comic-Con? I'm going. James Marsters.
Marzipans.
Gary
Who
Marzipan.
played Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
He was there.
I had such a girl crush on him.
The guy that played Xander on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Nicholas or Nicky.
Yeah, Nicholas Brendan.
There you go.
I have a story to tell you off air about that.
Okay. They were there. So here was the lineup. What's his face? Bucky was there.
And from what I hear, he was lovely.
Yeah. Shatner was there. I think Bruce Campbell was in there somewhere. Matt Smith was there. Yeah. And so my friend actually shelled out the money to go like take pictures and get autographs with all of these people.
Nice. Did you get to hop in on that?
I wasn't going to wait in line because I much to my eternal chagrin, put down your keyboard and you just. I have not watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I've never been able to start. So I'm someday. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just I know it's one of those things that if you're not watching it at the time, there's going to be some slowness in the initial build-up in like the first season or whatever. No,
actually, so funny enough that we're talking about this. I'm rewatching Buffy right now.
Okay,
I just hit season 3 today. It's like I put it on in the background when I'm editing and doing stuff because I've seen it before, but
sure.
It's held up really well for me, particularly. Though I don't. Are you a fan of Joss Whedon?
Yeah.
His writing style, he's very campy.
Yeah.
And lots of witty repartee all the time. If you're a fan of that in the 90s, you will like the show a lot because that's all it is. It's just camp out the wazoo. So if you like that and you like witty repartee, you will love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's a great show for verbiage.
It's definitely on my list. It's also one of those things where I know that there's 600 seasons of it, and so I don't want to.
They go really quick though. There's only, I want to say, there's 10 to 12 episodes in the first season. It's not all that much.
I don't really want to get sucked into that black hole just right this second, but
that's understandable.
But I did wait in line with her for Matt Smith just to
nice.
And I didn't want to she'd had a picture with her and these other people, and I was like, well, I don't want to. I'm not gonna get in your picture. That's the last thing you need is
just chill,
sweaty, greasy, tired Jeff.
Whatever.
I love you, Matt Smith. But I was like, hey, look, that's Matt Smith right there. So I walked and I just held her purse and she went up and took her picture and then boom. Because they move people through those photo op things.
Understandable.
Giant line just and he looks exactly like he looks on Doctor Who, except he was wearing a t-shirt and blue jeans instead of whatever. But yeah, there was some pretty decent cosplay going on. There was one family that I really liked that was walking around where the dad was a war boy and the mom was a Lady Immortan Joe, and then their little girl was Furiosa. That was pretty fun. I caught
That's
them a few
awesome.
times. Yeah,
I dig that. Did you get pictures?
No, I don't.
You don't do that. All right,
that's the antisocial part of me where I'm just like, hey, look, all right, cool.
I'm kind of like that too. I don't like creeping on people.
It was a little weird, though, because there was a Julie Newmar Catwoman around there, and so I thought it was you like 3 times.
What? I've never seen anybody do Julie Newmar Catwoman other than me.
Yeah, it was the same lady all 3 times. I was just like, is that shit? Nope, that's not. Okay, it's not her again.
That makes my life happy. I don't know who you are, friend, but you're amazing. Thank you for bringing Julie back because she's everything.
Oh, also, I have to say, my God, it was like every almost literally like every 30th person that I saw was a Harley Quinn.
How did I know?
Mm-hmm.
How did I know?
Booty shorts, fishnet, cut off shirt, like the ponytail, the pigtails, little things on them. Yep, just Harley Quinns as far as the eye could see. All different shapes and sizes and colors. I think I even saw a dude dressed up like Harley Quinn.
Hot.
And
that I'd want to see.
All right.
I dig it.
But yeah, it was fun. I mean, you had to drive downtown and then walk around for like 8 hours. And then I turned around and went to my dumb high school reunion after that.
Oh, you did go?
Yeah. Yeah.
How was it?
It was terrible.
I'm still debating about mine. I don't know that I'm going to go.
Okay, I figured out what it is. Here's the problem with my high school reunion, and it's not the same for everybody. There's 3 major problems. 1, most of the people I was friends with in high school were either 1 grade above me or 1 grade below me. They were not in my grade. So you show up and you're like, oh, right, these are all the other people that I don't like.
Ever see.
Yeah.
Ever. Yeah.
Number 2, I went to high school in a suburban, horrible town, and most of the people, or half the people from my graduating class stayed in that town.
Yeah.
So it's like, and so when you try to talk to them about Austin,
the outside world, they're like, wait, that exists?
Well, Austin,
people
Texas, like 5 miles from where I went to high school. Food trucks, live music, like crazy men tattooed, Leslie, R.I.P., and the King of 6th Street, and just whatever you want. And they live in the suburbs. Like I went to the good bar in Pflugerville, and it was garbage. Like, and then we went to the bad bar in Pflugerville, which was this like scuzzbag dance club. Bras hanging off the ceiling.
Oh.
I'm like, bras hanging off the ceiling? Is that supposed to be
Is this Coyote Ugly?
Sexy? I don't think so. And then the third thing is that if you were really good friends with that person in high school, you've stayed in touch.
Right?
Facebook is a thing, and we all have cell phones. It's not like you have to go out of your way to really get in contact with somebody that you really want to talk to.
I feel you on that so much. There's a group page now for my reunion. And it's like people are starting to, I don't know, like post pictures from when we were in middle school and high school. Yep. And they're starting to like talk about the good old days. And I'm looking through all of it. Like, maybe I'll go. And then I start seeing these posts and I'm like, yeah, I don't talk to any of these people. They're still telling the same stories from when we were in high school. I don't know that I'll ever have anything in common with that.
I was going in to get another beer, and I walked past this group of these 3 dudes that I vaguely recognize because, I mean, at this point, I'm on my 20th, so everybody has gotten fairly fat from my high school, but I kind of vaguely recognize these human beings. I'm like 4 beers into the night, and I didn't really care about these guys, and they were like, oh, hey. And because I made a mistake, too, of going, I didn't have a beard at any point in history with these people, and I did have hair at all points when I was talking to these people. So I think that when I went there, I didn't put on a name tag, and I was sitting in the corner for a little while, just like, nobody will talk to me. And then I was like,
they don't know who you are.
Hello, McFly. Like, you look like a serial killer now. Of course they're not going to talk to you.
You don't.
But I walked by, and they were like, hey, Jeff, right? And I was like, yeah. Just name tag, and name tag. And I was like, how you guys doing? And it's like, great. Name tag number 2 was just telling us about how much pussy used to crush on MySpace. And I'm just like,
wow.
What are you people?
Wow.
I have got to get out of here.
Run away.
And then, like, later in the evening, they're like, hey, we're going to go smoke some weed. Do you want to come with me? I'm just like, no.
Oh my God. The one, I never went to parties, quote unquote, when I was in middle school or high school. I was like, I was in band and journalism and was working all the time and actually doing shit with my life, whatever. Yeah. I graduated with more credits than anybody in my year. Sure. I was that kid. So I never went to parties. I was never in the cool crowd. Fine with it.
Fair.
So like 7 years later, something like that, we were all finishing college, and I happened to be working a summer as a bartender at a country club in Corpus.
Okay.
And some dudes I went to school with, they frequented that place, and I got invited to a party.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why, but I went.
Okay.
I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting out of life, but it was exactly that. It
Lots
was like
of red cups and weed smoking,
beer bonging and weed smoking and talking about the good old days of high school. And I'm like, I didn't want to talk about high school when we were in high school. What in the world is this?
Yep.
And I never went back.
Yep. Yeah. I also realized that. Yeah, point the fourth is that anybody that was actually cool, well, I don't know. Listener, your mileage may vary, but for my high school, anybody that knew that was actually in my class that was cool, none of them would go to that anyway. I'd have a better time just friending them on Facebook and being like, hey, man, you want to go to the bar on Sunday? And they'd be like, yes.
Yeah.
So.
And mine's at like an ice house. It's like a Brewster Street ice house. And you have to pay an exorbitant amount of money just to be there and have like cheap barbecue. And
what's an ice house?
So it's this place that's called Brewster Street. It's this like outdoor concert venue where they serve barbecue and like bar food.
You can get barbecue anywhere.
Well, it's Corpus Christi. There aren't exactly a plethora of options.
Okay.
And I think that they were going for kid-friendly.
No.
Yeah, oh no, that was the whole thing. Was like 3/4 of the people all had kids and wanted to do like a picnic or a field day or something to parade their children around. And I was like,
people with children. People with children. I have no problem with your children. I have no problem with your children. I also have no interest in interacting with your children. I don't even have an interest in seeing your children about.
I'm kind of that way.
At a function, you know.
I'm like, no.
Hey, you know what? When the sun is up and it's afternoon time and everything is great, before the moon comes up, you can take your kids wherever you want to. I will gladly stand behind them while they scream and cry or whatever. But once you're in a place that will give you an alcoholic beverage and the sun is down, as far as I'm concerned, get them out of there.
I'm just saying.
Get them the hell out of there.
I'm like, let's pull a Romeo and Michelle. Like, let's have a dance. Let's have alcohol and be dressed up fancy. I don't want to wear shorts and a fucking t-shirt to my fucking 10-year high school reunion. No.
Yep.
So yeah, I think I might boycott it. Well, not boycott it, but just not go.
On last Saturday, they actually did it. They did it relatively good, where they had an afternoon picnic for family reunion, and then an evening we're going to the bar.
That was my idea.
Yeah.
And I was like, give all the proceeds to like a local charity. Do
Sure.
something good for the community. And it's not. They're not. It's just bar.
Anyway,
so
let's talk about some news.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Let's get away from these bad topics and go on to yet another bad topic.
Sorry, friends.
First up in the news, I don't know if you people have heard about this.
If you haven't, you've been living under a rock.
Boy, oh boy. So last week, the Daily Beast came with an article that Mr. Palmer Luckey, CEO, president, supreme overlord of Oculus, what did he give? Like $10,000 to this group?
I think that sounds right.
10 or 11,000, something like that. To this group called God, what the hell are they called? I don't even know if I want to say their names, but anyway, this is God. How do I pull all these things up and then immediately lose all of the pertinent information?
It is your way.
Yeah, Nimble America, a group whose membership includes this guy Milo Yiannopoulos or something like that. I don't know if you've ever seen this guy before. He's like,
I have not.
Kind of.
I mean, I've seen his name in text, but
tech Republican, pro Gamergate, kind of a professional douchebag.
Sounds like we'll be best friends.
Yeah. And apparently this group is their main thing is shit posting about Hillary, where they're making kind of like crappy memes and using this money to try to spread around. Like they made they bought a billboard. I was reading some more about this.
That's their shtick is billboards.
Pittsburgh or something that had a kind of gross caricature of Hillary and then some whatever.
It's real lowbrow.
So anyway, this got found out. Palmer Luckey apparently after this got posted, I don't know if he just expected nothing to happen here, but when this originally got posted,
it makes it sound like he just thought it would be funny.
Yes,
like this. Let's just do this thing for kicks. Throw these people money and see what they do with it. I don't. I'm
going to tell the story and then we can get into because I'm all over the place.
Do it.
So So apparently this story came out and then a couple of developers said that they're not going to be developing anything. The developments that they were doing, they're not going to include Rift support for anymore. Polytron, the guys who used to be the Phil Fish company with Fez, so the Super Hypercube is not going to be supporting them. Insomniac Games, who actually put out a few things on the Oculus Rift, came out with a statement kind of decrying the action. Then Palmer Luckey came out and basically said, well, that username isn't actually me.
I just got given the password to it to post the thing.
And then the reporter, who I should probably be saying his name too, Jason Rubin, basically said, like, no, I have the evidence here that shows that this is like your account. And then the last little piece of this, I guess, is that Brendan Iribe, I'm sure I'm butchering that, basically kind of put out a statement kind of expressing some sorrow and whatnot. So I guess here's the question. I have a real hard time with this. I still don't know. It sounds like Palmer Luckey got like $3 billion for Oculus from Facebook or something horrible like that. And he got like a bunch of hundreds of millions of dollars from this. It sounds like he did this shit in his, like, with money that most of us would consider like chump change.
Right.
Like for us, you say $10,000, I'm like, God damn, the things I could do.
That's nothing to this guy.
Right. But for this guy, that's like if you spent $20 and you had $10 of change and somebody was like, hey man, you want to give to blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, yeah, here's this $10.
Right.
So I don't know, because on the one hand, you can make the argument, you say, all right, he's not giving on behalf of Oculus, yet Oculus is potentially suffering because of his actions.
Right.
But the companies that are pulling their support for this are firmly within their rights to be like, we don't agree with your leadership's viewpoint. This is a free country. We're free to develop. We have no obligation to develop for your platform. There's two other VR platforms, or two other major VR platforms, and countless other smaller ones. So we're just going to go ahead and take it off the table. So I'm still thinking it through, and I'd like to hear your input. But for right now, I guess my thought is that, you person at home as a private individual, if you want to I don't think that, let's say that I worked at Subway sandwiches, right? And Subway gives me a paycheck, and then in my spare time, I decide, God, I like that orange bastard. I want to give him $10 to run for president. I'm going to be pro-Trump, and then I give him, I donate $10 to Donald Trump's campaign when I'm not working at Subway, when I'm at home out of my bank account. And then somebody at Subway sees on my Facebook that I did that, and the people that work there are firmly anti-Trump, and then they fire me, right? Like, I don't necessarily agree with that particular little line of logic, but Palmer Luckey is like the face of Oculus. He's put himself out there as like the rock star head, the Bill Gates of Oculus. Like he's on the cover of Time doing a little jump, that little dumb looking jump. So I almost feel like he has to understand that anything that he does that gets found out like this is going to probably reflect negatively onto the company.
Sure.
One way or the other, or I don't know. It's so tricky. I just don't.
I'm very much a fan of, believe what you want to believe as long as you believe it in an informed capacity.
Sure.
Like, don't just be a Republican. Tell me why you're a Republican. Like, what do you believe in that they believe in? Like,
sure.
Give me the spiel. And that was always an issue I had with my high school. I was in government classes and things, and I would always take the opposite tack of pretty much 95% of the people in my class, because they would say they believed a thing, but they wouldn't have any information as to why. Mm-hmm. And I don't like that.
They're just going on their guts.
Yeah. Or just on what their parents believed because they're country club kids or whatever.
Right.
And I'm like, just whatever you want to believe, fine, but have a reasoning for it. Yeah. And one of the things that I've never been a fan of in general in politics is smear campaigning. It's like two negatives don't make a positive, right? Sure. Don't waste your time tearing somebody down. Use your time to build up what you do believe in.
Yep.
Instead. Like,
sure.
Just so regardless of who it's for or against, the fact that somebody would take their money and throw it to an organization that's entire purpose is to smear people and make them look like crap.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
I mean,
it could be any party. It could be libertarian, which he claims to be. It could be Democratic, Republican, Green Party, whatever the hell you want to call yourself.
Sure. I
don't like smear tactics. I just don't like them. So I'm always going to be like, for things like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think that I don't know. This is, I honestly, what it comes down for me is when I first read a story like this, and I'm just like, Are you really that stupid?
Well, and that's the mind-boggling thing. I went to the panel that Palmer taught at RTX this year on VR and Oculus and like the development of that whole genre. Mm-hmm. And he seemed like a really nice guy. He was clear, he was informative, he was witty. So I'm really disappointed to hear that that's kind of what he's doing in his free time. It's like you've got so much power and influence. You could be using that for such great things.
Yeah.
I get that kind of money isn't really anything to somebody like that, but I find it to be a bit disappointing.
Well, it's also, I mean, this isn't really, I mean, just from going through news stories every week, I get the impression that Oculus isn't doing so well. I mean, I keep seeing...
Well, they've definitely gotten some whiplash off of this, some backlash off of this.
I don't even think this. I'm just talking about, like, there's like 400 games on Steam that are Vive compatible, and I mean, like, maybe half or a quarter of those are Oculus compatible. There's like a ton of stuff for the Vive. And
I know they've been going through a lot of changes right now. I got an industry badge to Oculus Connect 3 that's next week in San Diego, and I'm waiting to hear if my company can afford to send me and my boss, or just me, or if my boss is going to go or whatnot.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'm going to get to go yet or not, but I was hoping to learn a lot more about where they're at with things by going to this conference because of that very reason. It's like there's this weird kind of stall, it seems to be.
Well, I see what's weird is that I think that stall is on the Oculus side.
Right.
I actually have been wanting an option on Steam to filter out VR titles because every week it's like I'm like, oh, that looks like God damn, that's another VR one.
Yeah.
And then, we're like a week and a half away from Sony launching PlayStation VR.
I'm excited.
It's one of those things where it's like, you guys can't afford to be doing... You're in a cutthroat game right now.
Bros.
Yeah, so...
It's interesting and intriguing. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where this is going to go.
I don't know. I haven't been watching it closely enough. I mostly just watched it when it first started coming out, so I don't know if the guy is actually... if he's actually kind of owned up to the whole thing and been like, I'm sorry, or if he's just trying to ride the wave of all of the horribleness that happens in the world every day, basically making everybody forget about this within 2 weeks.
I definitely have to do much more research on it.
Yeah, but it's weird. Also, don't get me wrong. I am not a fan of Donald Trump, but I'm also a fan of, you do you and I'll do me and we'll all do whatever. And I kind of want to just stay as far away from this particular presidential race as humanly possible because it seems like people have gone insane.
It's a shit show.
Yeah.
Total shit show.
All right, well, hey, let's move on to an entirely different kind of shit show.
Yay!
Battlefield 1 official single-player trailer came out last week. This is one I've been waiting for.
This trailer tries to hit you in the feels.
Yeah. It's got I don't know what the music is that they're playing towards the end, but it's some good trailer music.
Yeah, it is. It's serious business.
So, we've got you know what I'm happy about is that the music that they're playing is just like some nice orchestral stuff and not a pop song.
A cover of a classic
that's been slowed way down. So yeah, we've seen kind of the tank bros before in some of the old trailers, and we've seen the Lawrence of Arabia stuff. There's like some kind of sharpshooting cowboy looking guys. There's some airplane flying mofos.
Everything I've seen of this game, and this isn't my genre of choice, you guys know this.
Yeah.
But everything I've seen of this game, and I have a friend who was in the beta and streamed it at Tacticon, everything I've seen is great. Yeah. This looks like a really solid game.
It does.
I can see it enduring.
Yeah, it's solid, and what I really like it was the kind of the second story that was attached to this that came up this week about how there's going to be 7 the campaign, the single player campaign.
Yeah, it's got like 7 chapters to it.
7 chapters, 20 missions, and then one of the interesting things about it is, I know what it is. This is some movie trailer ass music.
It really is.
The back half of this game trailer, I'm like, I would go to the theater and watch that movie. Is going to be each one of those 7 chapters is going to be a different character. So instead of trying to follow one character through all the cool looking parts of World War I, which would be stupid, they're going to be basically having like little 3 to 4 mission vignettes, and then you're going to switch over to a different theater and a different character.
Right.
Which looks cool because there's definitely looks like there's a flying. We've definitely seen the kind of desert Lawrence of Arabia stuff. We've seen some trench stuff. We've seen some tank stuff. It also, I'm just going to say this again, Frostbite graphics engine used to kind of be crap, and it looks great.
This looks really great.
The faces in this trailer look absolutely
They're so
stunning.
Clean.
Yeah, they emote really well. I'm getting very little Uncanny Valley off of them. So yeah, I don't know how long the actual campaign, how long it's going to be, but after the last few, because I don't know if you know this, but the last few Battlefield games have had really terrible single player campaigns.
Right.
Battlefield Hardline and Battlefield 4. Well, I don't know. Some people like Battlefield 4. I didn't, but also it'd be nice if it looked like this on the console.
I hope it does.
Nah, it's gonna be. This is PC. It'll look good
Someday.
It just won't look this good.
Someday.
You get that PlayStation. You get the PlayStation Pro, right? That's what you got to do. You got to spend another $400 on a new PlayStation 4.
I just got mine. Jeez.
I also really hope that this African American guy is one of the characters, because they showed him in one of the first trailers in front of like a Zeppelin, like a dirigible, kind of came out of the clouds like a monster, and he's on the cover to the game. So I'm really hoping that he's in there, because I could I don't know, that'd be nice. I'm also starting to wonder if the lady kind of Middle Eastern character is the actual playable character that you play during that segment, or if it's going to be the Lawrence-looking white dude. Because, hey, man, you got 7 different campaigns. Throw some.
I'm hoping for lady.
I just don't.
Because more ladies in war games.
Hey, I
mean, more ladies in games in general, really.
Give me some unshaven generic white dudes, saving World War I, and then like some, here's a lady on a horse, and here's an African American guy on a blimp, and like.
Yay! Cover all the bases.
Yep.
Okay, bye.
All right, next up, we got a couple of other trailers here. This one is going to be really kind of generic. This is the actual Call of Duty Modern Warfare single player story trailer, which we've already seen quite a bit.
Those eyebrows, though.
Yeah, it looks really good. This trailer is basically a recap of the entirety of Modern Warfare, done in these really fast clips between all the different.
Modern Warfare
missions.
was the first Call of Duty game I played.
Yeah, what did you think?
I liked it. I remember spending many hours on my then boyfriend's PlayStation playing it. I played it more than he did.
Single player? The single player?
Oh, yeah.
And also, okay.
Oh, yeah.
The single player story for Modern Warfare is, in my opinion, one of the best crafted single player FPS games of all time, because every level is unique and there's all these fantastic things. Like, I'd kind of forgotten about when you're shooting off of the Spectre gunship. When you're covering the guys, like that was interesting. The flashback to the 70s.
It was a really great game. It had so many layers to it.
And then,
especially me not being a fan of this genre particularly, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. It's also really short. It's like 5 hours and then you're done.
It always took me longer than that, but that's because I'm not good at these games.
It also did. They're showing this in this trailer. And hey, you guys, if you have not played Modern Warfare, spoiler alert for Modern Warfare, but the sequence where the guy gets hit with the big nuclear explosion, which was one of the first times in video games where I've seen a main character get iced halfway through the game. It was like the video game equivalent of watching Psycho, where I'm just like, whoa, wait a minute.
Wait, what now?
You don't do this. This isn't what happens in video games. But yeah, they're really pushing this. I actually, I really hate to say this, but I'm really excited about Call of Duty this year. I'm regularly not excited about Call of Duty, but between my favorite Call of Duty game of all time and then the new space one, I actually think looks really good. I can't wait. Last but not least, I got one more trailer, and this is actually for a game by one of my favorite companies, Tiny Build Games, and this is called Hello Neighbor. And I'm going to read you what this says. Hello Neighbor is a stealth horror game where you sneak into your neighbor's house. You play against an advanced AI that counters your every move.
I'm intrigued by this. I will probably play this game.
Have you seen this trailer?
I have.
Okay. As I understand, I think John was telling me about this. It's some kind of like rear window thing where you're trying to get in to figure out what your neighbor's doing because they're being shady. And this,
as one does.
Yeah, because, your neighbor's up to some shady stuff. You're going to break in and see what's up. This trailer is wackadoo. It makes me cringe because this guy like throws a tomato at the outside of this dude's house and he just runs into his house and starts messing with stuff. It's pretty crazy though. It's kind of got a very kind of stylized look to it.
Yeah, I'm not so much a fan of the art style, but I've been playing horror games every Friday night for the last month or so now, month or two on Twitch.
Yeah.
And I will definitely play this one.
It looks really. It looks like more of a suspense game than I
like that though. I don't like blood and gore type horror. I like psychological horror. So like I've been playing games like White Knight.
Okay.
Did you ever play that one?
Yeah, I never finished it. We played it for an Indie Friday way back when it originally came out.
Nice. I just started that one 2 Fridays ago, and I'm digging it so far. It's kicking my ass. But I dig it.
Do you
I
generally
love
play
the
them
art
to
style.
completion?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I saw you playing Layers of Fear a little bit further back.
Man, that game threw me for a loop. I thought I was being really meticulous. I clicked like every single letter and picture and everything. And I got to the end of the game way quicker than I thought I was going to. And it said that my completion was 33%.
Oh, man.
I was so mad.
Well, is it just one of those things where when you play the game a second time, there's something different about it? Was that what it was?
No, I think it's because you go through like a door and then you're in a hallway with 3 different doors that you can go into. And if you go in the wrong one, you can't go back. So it's like you have to randomly know which door you're supposed to go in through first.
Okay.
And there's no way of knowing.
Okay.
So I think you just have to play it through again.
May I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever played SCP Containment Breach?
No.
You should go. It's free. You have to have a PC. You have to be able to work it on the PC. But
I have Mac.
it's very low. It's very low. Oh, actually, you might check and see if there's a Mac version. I don't think there is because it's a fan project.
What's it called?
SCP Containment Breach.
SCP Containment Breach.
For those of you who are new to the podcast, this happened to me a while back. So if you've never heard of the SCP project, the SCP project is basically horror. What do they call it? Like creepypasta. But all of the creepypastas have to be written like they're government documents because it's a fictitious organization called the SCP Foundation that through these documents you find out has basically been corralling and containing huge numbers of like supernatural and other threats to the human race by like capturing them and locking them down and trying to keep them away from other people. And so a lot of these documents have to deal with like there's some that are hostile, there's some that are benign, and there's some that are like kind of unknown. And then the first one is basically, you'll see it if you ever play the game, is this let's see if I can find
I'm intrigued already.
a picture. Oh, I love it. Like I actually downloaded the app on my phone. So SCP-173 was the first one, and SCP-173 is this giant Krylon painted statue, and it basically, I can't tell the chronology to know whether this happened first, but it acts like Weeping Angels from Doctor Who, except instead of sending you back in time, it just breaks your freaking neck. So in order to keep it contained, they have to keep people like watching it 24 hours a day in shifts and stuff like that. So if you play the game, the first thing that happens is you'll get to see what we've called Mr. Peanut.
Mr. Peanut.
And it kind of goes on and on from there. But yeah, there's like 3,000 entries in the SCP Foundation database.
Dang.
Yep. The first 2,000 are pretty solid. I've read 75% of them, but
I'm intrigued.
Yep. All right. Next up, we have some Destiny 2 news, which I know is not going to be probably big news to like half the people out there. Apparently, Destiny 2 is coming to the PC. So whereas the Destiny 1 was Xbox One and PS4 exclusive, Destiny 2 will be on the PC. The other thing is that apparently they're going to be fixing a lot of things that people have had a problem with in original Destiny. So better Radiant quest lines, better, like more populated areas, which is great because I actually got to play the latest expansion for Destiny, and it's fun, but it wears out its welcome really quickly. And I feel like the things that they're outlining for Destiny 2 would give it longevity. I just wish they'd go ahead and put it the hell out already, because it's been
you just want to play it.
It's been like a year and a half since the first one came out, and they just came out with another expansion like 2 weeks ago or a week ago. So yeah. Next up, if in case anybody is keeping track, Paladins is coming to consoles. I don't know if you've ever heard of Paladins before.
I have not.
Paladins, actually, we did a super awesome video game show video for it that'll be coming out next week. Paladins is a free-to-play on the PC. This is kind of uncharitable. you could take these words in a good way or a bad way. And I recommend, because it's a fun game, that people take it in a good way. It's basically an Overwatch clone that's free to play. So
interesting.
It's made by this company that made this game called Smite. That's like a MOBA.
Oh yeah, I've heard of Smite.
Yeah, it's like 6-on-6, and it's got some different stuff. Like you can't change heroes once you've chosen your lineup, and but it's really fun and it's free to play, which is the big thing. Is like, say you don't have the
free
$40 for Overwatch, and you just want to play an Overwatch style game. So, yeah, Xbox One and PS4, and there's a beta. There's a sign up for closed console beta right now. So if you're interested, go and sign up.
Do the thing.
Next up, Cyberpunk 2077 is going to be getting some multiplayer elements. Now, Jennifer, how familiar are you with Cyberpunk 2077?
You know I had heard of it before and seen a trailer, but that's about the extent of my knowledge.
That's about the extent of what is known about this game. I mean, this is CD Projekt Red, the same company that made the Witcher games, is making this.
The trailer's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
It's freaking beautiful.
And they said that they're going to have what is the quote here? A complex technology for making unique multiplayer gameplay mechanics, including the ability to search for opponents, manage game sessions, replicate objects, and support for different game modes, along with a unique set of dedicated tools. So, whereas The Witcher is very much totally grounded in single player, as I can tell.
Which I prefer.
Yeah, this seems like it's going to have some kind of like Radiant optional multiplayer in it.
Right.
Which is cool. I'm actually really hoping that if Cyberpunk 2077 comes out to be kind of just Cyberpunk The Witcher, I'm great with that, because I feel like the only thing stopping me from actually playing more of The Witcher was the fact that it was medieval, and I'm a little bit burned out on just hacking and slashing.
I dig it.
Slashing and hacking. And I mean, hey, everything. Did you play the expansion, the Blood and Wine? That seems really interesting. Speaking of, this is kind of the section that is all just kind of new releases and announcements. So Amazon Games, the company that was staffed from a bunch of ex-Iron Galaxy employees, no, Iron Galaxy took over the company that made Killer Instinct. I don't remember what their name was before. Basically announced a new 4v4 title called Breakaway. I don't think did I send you this story or not?
You did not.
Okay, this is one that just came up. They announced it at TwitchCon, and by the time this goes up, it'll probably be. They said once TwitchCon is over, they're releasing an alpha that everybody can play.
Nice.
And it's basically a 4v4 multiplayer game, but the difference is that the characters that you're playing as are all mythic characters.
Ooh.
So the examples here is Spartacus, Morgan Le Fay, and Vlad the Impaler.
That's up my alley.
And then you're playing in battlefields drawn from mythical places like El Dorado or Atlantis or things like that. And then it's going to have some kind of like, I saw a very brief video they were showing, like you can build things onto your arena to try to keep the other team from doing stuff, but it's supposed to be a very, very small arena so that no matter where you are, you can see basically everything that's going on at the same time.
That's awesome. So, I dig this. All right.
Seems pretty cool. I say I mostly mentioned it to keep a lookout, folks, because there's not a lot of information about it so far, but it seems like seems interesting.
Pretty art style, too.
Yeah. I mean, this is all concept art. Spartacus. And what do we got here? Who the hell that is? I don't reckon. Those look like future people. I don't know what the hell. Actually, I don't think that's from the same game. Anyway, all right. So let's get back into the meat. So here we go. No Man's Sky. Poor, crazy, funky No Man's Sky is basically under investigation. And this is going to make this sound a lot more nutty than it is. But how familiar are you, Jennifer, with advertising laws in Europe?
In Europe? Not at all.
I've run across a smattering of stories over the course of doing this show that basically tell me that advertising rules in Europe are... You know how in America you could tell somebody, like, this car has 9 wheels, and then you buy it, it's like, it's got 4 wheels and then 5 tiny little wheels inside of the glove compartment.
Right. Like, American advertising is much more sketch than in other countries.
Right. But in Europe, apparently there are organizations where if you do that shit, then they will drag you into court and be like, you can't do that. You can't tell people it's got 9 wheels and then not have it have 9 wheels. So apparently this is the Advertising Standards Authority in the UK is looking into Hello Games and basically trying to decide whether they have a case to say that because Hello Games showed all this preview footage of No Man's Sky that had all of these elements that didn't actually make it into the game, whether they basically that counts as fraudulent advertising to the consumer.
Oh.
Whether trailers and preview builds and stuff that feature items, because this screenshot right here, this is part of this is a Game Informer story that we're looking at, is of a big outer space battle with a bunch of ships. I don't know if this is in the game, but I've never seen anything that looks like this. The space combat is a lot more tepid than what we're looking at right here. In the trailers that they showed at like E3 and other places, there were like big hulks of crashed ships. There were different styles of animals that you didn't really see when the full game came out. Something obviously changed between the preview footage and the final game.
Right.
They're just not the same thing. So they're going to do their investigation, but I think that brings up an interesting thing that we touch on every so often is to how beholden must a game developer be to make what goes in your hands what they showed you 2 years ago in a trailer at a game show. Because like BioShock Infinite had trailers of events that got cut from the game entirely. Full trailers that no longer exist in the game. Preview footage that is just gone.
I would say, just me and my minute understanding of such things, as long as when you're releasing that initial footage at the conference, you say, this is all subject to change. This might not be in the final game. This could all get scrapped tomorrow, but this is what we're working on so far.
Yeah.
That way people know, don't necessarily, this isn't the Holy Grail or the Bible of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It could change. But yeah, I mean, as a consumer, if I'm shown trailers that say this is the game, and then when you get the game, it's not that, that's absolutely false advertising.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can totally see where they're coming from on that.
I think but it's such a strange, I think that it's interesting because as a medium, I feel like there's a couple things with video games that make it very different. One, that a lot of times trailers, especially preview trailers, are built off of alpha builds of the game, which like I said, in the case of BioShock Infinite, whole sections of the game were removed because they're found to not be fun, and so that footage isn't there. I remember as far back as Metal Gear Solid 2 pulled a bait and switch on me where there was trailer footage in one of their trailers of Solid Snake with a gun on an area that I'm pretty sure didn't exist. Or here's a perfect example of Metal Gear Solid 2. All of the advertising footage for Metal Gear Solid 2 showed Solid Snake. Solid Snake was in the first 25 minutes or 30 minutes, depending on how slow you play it, of the game. And then the game switched over to Raiden for the entire rest of the game. And none of the advertising material showed that. Now, it was a big old Kojima, what kind of thing.
Right.
But I almost feel like if you did that today, like if you tried to do what he did with that game today, you would have change.org petitions and Kojima needs to be fired and I want my money back and Steam refund campaigns and like writing to Konami trying to get him kicked out. He'd probably get death threats on Twitter for like, you motherfucker, you were supposed to give me a Solid Snake game. You gave me this whiny Raiden and his girlfriend. I hate them. God, fucking you. I'm coming to your house. I'm going to eat your cats or whatever people say on Twitter. That's just what I assume Twitter is like these days.
You're not that far wrong.
But I mean, I'm not fully on board the caveat emptor thing, but for No Man's Sky, caveat emptor, man. Like fucking Brandon, whatever his name was, Sean Murray was vague as fuck, and it looked like he was super high in every single interview about No Man's Sky.
Vague as fuck, folks.
Yeah.
That's technical verbiage.
Yeah. Like, they would be like, can you do this thing? And he'd be like,
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Perhaps. I don't know how so many people just bought that game sight unseen. Like, I know that I was going to do it because frickin' run rage select. But
right.
if I was a regular old person like you at home, I would be like, you know what? Let's see what the scores look like. Let's see what those critic scores look like.
That's what I do.
A week after the game came out. So, all right. Next up, you know what? What's our time looking like here? Okay, we're gonna speed this up a little bit. Wasteland 3 is gonna come out. It's gonna have co-op.
Good job.
Wasteland.
That was succinct. I like it.
You know, actually, the only thing that's really interesting when I read this story about Wasteland 3 is that apparently, because Wasteland 3 is like Wasteland 2 is like a turn-based, top-down, you move, I move. And I really think it's interesting how they talk about in Wasteland 3, they're looking to be able to let two people play two different squads on a map simultaneously to have co-op. And they're also talking about how, like, those same two people, like, generate their own world together to the point where, like, let's say you and I are playing, and then you're just like, hey, I work a regular job, I'm going to bed. And I'm like, well, I fucking run Rage Select, so I'm going to stay up until the sun comes out. So apparently you can log out of that shared session, and I could just keep doing quests in the game while you're offline, that when you log back in to the whatever that session, it's affected by the things that I have done while you weren't playing.
Interesting.
Which is kind of cool. Yeah.
I dig that.
There's also going to be apparently vehicles, and they're funding it off of Fig, which is also, I left the story out, but Fig finally got their SEC approval, so they can actually do stuff now.
Yay!
I don't know if you know, Fig is like the it's like Kickstarter, except you have to be like an actual investor to invest money in it. Oh wow, I forgot there was an Overwatch porno this week. Gross. Speaking of Overwatch, apparently Symmetra in Overwatch is probably going to be going through some changes.
Facelift.
Yep. What this article said that Symmetra right now is like the second least played character in Overwatch outside of Ana, the newest character, and that they want to go ahead and make some changes. They want to make a real big overhaul to try to get her more into the mix. As a person who plays Overwatch, I can say that I don't ever play Symmetra because she is hard as shit to play. So I don't know, make Symmetra easier to play, and then I can play as Symmetra.
There you go.
You don't have Overwatch, do you?
Nope. I'm too much in that Here's the Storm life.
But you're getting the bleed through now. What, Tracer and Zarya are both in Here's the Storm?
I don't play with them.
No? Oh, but Tracer's the best. I love Tracer.
I'll get there.
Overwatch is so great. Yeah, so anyway, that could be interesting. I just hope it doesn't slow down any of the new characters. Tell you what, folks, if you want a big old laugh, just a chuckle, a big belly laugh. So the latest DLC for Homefront the Revolution came out today, or one of the most just terribly, like, it was virtually unplayable on the console.
Oh wow.
It was terrible. This is a game that is the sequel to one of the most terrible games ever made, Homefront. So they made this really terrible game, and then this company got a hold of the IP, and they were like, we're going to reboot it, we're going to make it better, we're going to make this new one, Homefront the Revolution, and then they got, like, shut down, bought out, downsized, retasked, and then this came out, and it was just garbage. But this is the only time that I get to, like, steeple my hands like a supervillain and be happy at somebody else's misfortune. They sold a season pass before they sold the game that they would give people like 3 episodes of additional content and some, I don't know, boot skins or something like that. Well, they have to actually make those 3 pieces of content and put them out as if this was a real game. They can't just throw up their hands and walk away because they'd have to give everybody their
money back,
$20 season pass back. So, hey, somebody out there in the comments section, play this garbage and let me know if it's less. You know what? I'd like to know if Homefront the Revolution continues to just be a steaming pile of trash fire because, boy, was that a bad game. It was really just terrible.
Don't hold back. Tell us how you really feel.
Oh, it was bad.
It's just real bad.
It's not bad. Good. Not good.
It's just bad.
Yeah. No, it was so bad that, like, okay, it was so bad. How bad was it? It was so bad that when I was playing it and people watched the video and they're like, Jeff, what are you doing? Just aim at the guy with your gun and shoot at him. And, like, the controls and the frame rate were so sluggish that I couldn't really control it. Like it was jittery, and I couldn't line up a shot. I couldn't figure out what the hell is wrong with me. Like, I'm playing Doom, I'm playing Call of Duty over here, I'm playing Overwatch. Like, I can aim at a thing with a controller and shoot it. Like, I'm not.
Yeah, it's not your first rodeo.
Yeah, I didn't start this website yesterday, but like when I watch the video of me playing Homefront, the game engine is so terrible that it looks like I'm horrible at video games because I just can't. I know. All right, well, 2 quick movie stories, and then we're going to jump into some emails. So we're still waiting for our first good video game movie, I believe, right? So not, I mean, like really good, not just like, that was all right, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So apparently Campo Santo
this one
is hooking up with this production company called Good Universe to develop some game/film projects, and the first one is going to be a film adaptation of Firewatch, which doesn't make any sense at all to me.
Why?
Have you played Firewatch?
No. It sounds intriguing.
Oh, it's so weird. It's basically just like these 2 people having conversations for over the course of many days, and there's kind of a mystery element to it, and it's
right.
I don't know. I feel like it's one of those walking simulator games that works really well as a first-person video game experience, but does not work. Would be a weird movie. You need to have like a very strange, artsy fartsy director.
It reminded me of that Keanu Reeves movie. What was it called? Was it the Lake House?
I've never seen it, but I know which one you're
where you put the letters in the freaking mailbox, and then you hear back from the person in the future or whatever.
I mean, you know, so
I'm surprised you knew what I was talking about.
I tried to think of the Keanu Reeves movie that I haven't seen because there's no like guns or shooting or matrixes in it. But like Firewatch begins, like the character that you're playing. I'm not gonna spoil any of Firewatch in case you play it yourself. But like the game starts, and it's really strange because it starts with just text that's kind of like a choose your own adventure story that goes over the course of like the last 10 years of the main character's life. Mm-hmm. And like the decisions that they made and how they got brought to this particular location. And then it picks up with them in this Firewatch tower, like over a summer, just by themselves, kind of just having a radio conversation with the person in the next Firewatch tower over there. And so then it's like you're walking around the forest trying to find stuff, and there's like this weird things start happening, and you don't know why they're happening or what's going on or like what is this, you know? Like you barely, I think you see like 2 people in the entire game.
Oh, wow.
Like it's a very solitary experience just wandering around the wilderness. I think the payoff is a little meh, but I have real serious problems with bait and switch.
Okay.
Like No Country for Old Men. You've seen No Country for Old Men, obviously. Everybody's seen No Country for Old Men. Anton Chigurh has the air rivet gun. I
did not see that one.
Okay.
I'm behind.
Well, that movie, if you've ever seen a movie where it's like, oh, this seems like it's going to be an action movie, but then the movie gets to the end and it just kind of peters out, and it was like, haha, it was a character study the entire time, and we fooled you. It wasn't actually an action movie. It was a character study.
Haha.
Yeah. I get really mad when media does that to me because I'm like, don't tell me the entire time there's a motherfucking action.
Don't do this to me.
Yeah.
I feel you.
So, I don't know. This is weird. Maybe we're good, but I felt like the real heart of Firewatch was you're playing the game, you're controlling this character, you're kind of going through this mystery. I don't know that it would be
that element. You don't know how it will be.
Yeah, as a non-interactive thing of just watching somebody else do that. I don't know if it would be like, because it's just walking around the forest. It's really just walking around the forest for like 5 hours, and then the game is over. So interesting.
Intrigued.
Yep. And then also there was briefly at IGN. Mr. Love him or hate him, apparently there's no middle ground. J.J. Abrams said that he's going to be meeting with Valve next week about Portal and Half-Life movie projects that he announced with Gabe Newell at DICE 2013, 3 years ago. I have to say that if there is a Portal movie to be made, I don't want J.J. Abrams anywhere near it.
Oh, yeah?
I don't have any problem with J.J. Abrams. Like, I think he's a little. I think that as he continues remaking stuff over and over, or as he continues in beloved franchises, the cracks in his directorial style show a little bit to me. Like, he's very nostalgic about stuff. I I want Portal. If they're gonna make a Portal movie, I want that shit to be made by like the guy that made Drive or like David Lynch or somebody nutty, because I don't want Portal to just be, because if you just showed the story of Portal, it would be real boring. Because
you've got to find a way to make it appealing.
Solving the puzzles in Portal is fun from a gameplay perspective, but would it be fun to watch somebody else, solve puzzle number 12 of jumping in here and then coming out there and then flying over there?
Right.
I mean, maybe it's like a web series where every week there was a new puzzle, and then when you hooked them all together, the whole thing turned into
So we need Joss Whedon.
45-minute. Yeah, there you go. Short film. But yeah, I want somebody weird. I want like there to be some absolute crazy insanity when it comes to Portal. So
interesting. I'm intrigued.
Half-Life, I could see him doing, because that's just a guy with a crowbar and alternate dimensions.
Guy with a crowbar.
Yep. And last but not least, I like to save a little something fun for the end of every single news segment, and this one is that apparently Felix Kjellberg, a.k.a. PewDiePie, is... I'm not going to do the voice that he does, because I'm just not going to do it.
I just played Goat Simulator this week.
Is teaming up with, the Goat Simulator developer, was that Coffee Cup, or whatever it is, to make a mobile game called PewDiePie's Tuber Simulator that simulates being a YouTube celebrity. So I'm going to download this so I can figure out what I've been doing wrong all these years. No, actually, I would just like to say in relation to this story, hey, developers, do you need a popular YouTube star to help you with... Hey, very small developers, do you need a very small YouTube star to help you with your iPhone game? I'm available. I'll give you like 40 lines of dialogue, and you just send me a gift card for some Starbucks. And
Jeff's all about it, folks.
That's right.
Hit us up at rageselect.com.
We'll do voiceover for coffee.
Agreed. I would do that.
Do you ever watch PewDiePie?
No.
I don't.
I watched a couple of his videos and was like, I prefer Video Game Donkey.
Okay. It's not. I mean, I try. I've only.
Made you watch some of his stuff, yeah?
I don't think. Was he the one that did the Final Fantasy one? Yep.
Yeah,
that was a good one. Yep.
His Goat Simulator video is fantastic.
I generally I have a hard time watching other Let's Players, because I get crypto memory from time to time, and it's just like I really don't want to be ripping off somebody else's bit. Like I already feel like I should just be living in a monastery and then coming down to record and then going back so that I'm not ripping off other people's jokes. But all right, and with that, we are done with the news.
That's it.
Yes, we're going to go ahead and take a break. We'll be back momentarily with the email part of the show. And we're back. Yep. And now Jennifer is full of poster envy.
I really am, though. That Final Fantasy VI poster, God, I need it.
Yeah, what's that guy's name? Jed Henry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just look up his art. Do yourself a favor.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
It's really good. And I don't have any games to review this week, so we're just going to jump right into emails. Mail at rageselect.com is the email address. And our first question this week comes in from Tristan, who says, Dear Rage Lords and Ladies.
Hello.
Hello again from the San Diego area of California.
Oh, hey.
Home of 4 big animal attractions: SeaWorld, the San Diego Zoo, the Chargers, and the Padres. That's a sports joke, isn't it?
I don't sports ball, so that's beyond me.
Unless the Chargers are like a famous ant farm or something that you guys have out there.
That's fun. I'd go see an ant farm.
I need an ant farm. All right. Tristan says, now I'm sure you could tell I'm a proud fan of nerd and geek things, comics, books, movies, and of course games, both video and tabletop. In online gaming, we occasionally get elitists that think they know everything about the game that you're playing, and ignoring them is easy enough. However, on the opposite end of the player... I'm sorry, folks. I'm really tired today. However, on the opposite end of the player base, there are players that need to improve their performance or, quote, get good. I know Jeff isn't the biggest fan of this phrase, and it does get overused and misused many times, but this brings me to my question. What is the best way to do this without discouraging the inexperienced player? As no sane player really wants to discourage new players from enjoying a game that you enjoy. Hope this goes good for you guys and gals. Hope this goes. I'm just going to read this verbatim. Hope this go good for you guys and gals for the rest of the year, Tristan. I think Tristan is wishing us a good rest of 2016.
I think he was.
You have pumpkin spice flavored Cheerios.
We're not going to talk about that. Shall we not?
Why do you need pumpkins?
Shall we not?
Okay, fine.
Just don't give it any more importance than it already has. Encourage it.
Don't feed the pumpkin spice monster.
Don't do it. Just say no to pumpkin spice everything.
I swear to God, at some point I'm going to be in downtown Austin, and there's going to be one of those dirty vapists next to me, and they're going to blow pumpkin spice vape in my face, and I'm just going to lose it. I'm just going to lose it. They're going to rip my shirt off like the Hulkster, and I'm just going to start throwing chairs around and being a crazy person. Anyway, so what's the best way to get new players to be good at a thing without discouraging them?
So, I mean, that speaks to education on any level, like no matter what the subject is, right? It's about appealing to somebody's sense of wonder and inspiration rather than making them feel berated for something they don't know.
Absolutely.
So feeding people little bits of information about a thing that will intrigue them enough to make them want to go and research it or become better at it is definitely the way to go. Like, just being like, nah, bro, you can't game with us because you don't know any better. Sucks. Don't do that. It's like, hey, here's this cool thing about this game. If you research this, it'll make your experience a lot better for you.
Yeah. It reminded me very specifically of last week when we played NBA 2K17.
Right.
And I mean, I know the basic way that basketball works, pass and then you shoot. There's a hoop and then you run back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand things like shot clocks or holding the ball for too long or you're not doing this or whatever. And so we were playing it and I was making these mistakes and somebody online made a comment about how I said that I knew how to play basketball, and they were like, obviously you don't, you're bad, this is painful to watch. And I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, in the number of words that it took you to say that, you could have explained what it was that I didn't understand, and then I would understand it. That's what I don't like about Get Good, is that when people are bad at Dark Souls and you berate them, some people take that kind of negative criticism as a challenge to get better, and I'm going to show you, motherfucker. Some other people are just going to be
it shuts them down.
This is gross, and people are making fun of me for being bad at a game that's legendarily hard, or whatever.
I hate that. I can't abide with that.
So, yeah, I always say just try to, funnel your effort into like, I can't count the number of times, especially, Tristan, I don't mean to relate this specifically to my own experience, but having played countless games, and a lot of them being games that other people take very seriously, like Call of Duty or Destiny or, whatever, things that a lot of other people play, and they're just like, I can't, you're so bad at this, I can't watch you play this. And I'm like, if you had just posted a link to a website with an article about here's 10 tips about how to play Call of Duty better, that would have been helpful.
Yeah, be educational, seriously.
Critique, it comes down to that age-old thing with art, right? Is that critique is helpful, but just being like, that's bad doesn't tell me anything. If you see a picture and you're just like, that picture sucks, that doesn't help the artist.
Helps nobody.
Because
do you feel better now?
Yeah,
you've been a douche.
You're gonna look at your picture and just go, well, I don't know what's wrong with it. Like, is it this is wrong? Is it the background is wrong? Is it the framing is wrong? Is it the subject matter is wrong? Whereas if you say, hey, that's not the color of armor that character wears, well, then that's something that an artist can correct. Or, hey, you need to work on your faces. Or, hey, your framing, it would be better if you did it like this. Those are helpful things, whereas just being like, you're bad, feel bad, poof them out.
Just naysayers, people that need to make you feel like less so they feel like more.
Yes. And so I always try, whenever possible, I'm bad about replying to direct messages on my Facebook page, but I feel like whenever anybody is like, hey, I'm on this level of Dark Souls and I'm getting my ass kicked, what can I do? Then I'll come back with like 3 paragraphs of like, try going over here and then go over here and do this.
See, that's beautiful. You're the kind of gamer that people want to be around for that very reason.
The other thing, Tristan, that you should always pay attention to is skill level. Like, if you have a person who wants to play Street Fighter and you're really good at Street Fighter, don't try to help them be better at Street Fighter by kicking their ass a bunch of times. Like, I feel like it's way better to find other people at a similar skill level than it is to just, because a lot of times, like, we would play when I was younger, we used to all get together and we used to play this tabletop game called Nuke War, where you basically, everybody just shoots nuclear bombs at each other until everybody's dead. This is my wayward teenage years. And when there's a new player there, we're all old hat at this. When there's a new player there, I can tell that they're not having that much fun because we all know exactly how to play this game. We know all the dirty little tricks and the way to get ahead. And this person, it's like their first time playing. nobody wants to spend hours running this person through practice. So we're just like, well, here's the rules, read them, and then we're going to play in 15 minutes. And so they're not having a lot of fun. It's easier if you can get people of a similar skill level together. Like, I'm sure that you've run into D&D situations where certain types of old veteran players with no patience is not the kind of person that you want to have around somebody who it's their first time
you
playing.
have to have a DM who is educational and who doesn't mind slowing it down for those newer players. And I've had players in my campaigns that I run that are like that. Like, I specifically welcome people who've never played D&D before, because I remember being new at D&D and that sense of wonder about it. And I don't mind taking the time to slow it down, because I learn things every time I have to break it down for somebody else.
Yeah.
So as long as that person is engaged and willing to learn, like, I don't mind every single inane question on the planet, because it means you're going to learn something and you're going to enjoy the game more when you see it the way we see it.
Absolutely. So yeah, try to find areas where you can get a person. Like, there was actually a person on Rage Select when we were talking about, I think it was in the comment section for the Turing test, where they were talking about, they were asking a question about how to get people who don't know how to use a PlayStation controller into, like, first-person games, because that's a hell of a muscle memory skill set to build up.
Right.
And I've always found that my answer for that question is also I guess the third answer for Tristan's question is the right experience. So, Portal is a great way to give people who don't know how to do first person with a controller, because there's no enemies shooting at them. There's no time limit.
It's controllable.
Right. It's very much a kind of move at your own pace thing, so they can get used to looking around. And that game is going to exercise all that. It's going to make them look up, look down. It's going to make them learn how to, like, run and jump and do stuff. But without, tons of baddies, like, throwing grenades and shooting and flanking and doing all this stuff where it's just like, you're dead, and you don't know why.
It's not too abrasive.
Yeah. It's like I remember the first time, I think the only other example I can think of is board games is, like, if somebody was like, hey, I want to get into tabletop gaming, I don't think I would ever put them in Catan first.
That's what I was exactly just thinking. God, every time I have to explain Catan to somebody, I feel so bad for that person, because there's so much knowledge you have to have right at the beginning to get the game.
You got to play like 12 games of that game before you
even get the flow.
Yeah, before you even know how shitty you are at Catan.
I love that game, but it's not the easiest to teach.
Definitely not.
So, what else you got?
There you go. Well, this next one comes in from Justin. Justin says, hello, Jeff and sexy co-host.
Hey, Justin.
Recently, I took a month or so hiatus from comics and just got back not too long ago. I usually only hit the DC side of things with the occasional independent and a couple of Marvel titles. But when I came back into the fold, I found out that Marvel had started their Civil War II crossover. Now, I would love to get the few titles that I was reading again, but with the Civil War II logo on it, I feel like not only would I have to buy the ones I'm missing, but the Civil War stuff too. And I'm not about that. Has this ever happened to you, where you didn't feel like picking up something after a break only because the property took on another life of its own? Thank you, Justin.
I mean, my biggest area of seeing that happen recently was in my research of Barbara Gordon and Batgirl.
Okay.
I started with, like, the first comics that she was in. I got Birds of Prey and all of those. And I was actually surprised. I went to, where was it that I went? It was Book People or somewhere, looking for comics with Barbara Gordon in them. And the only thing that I saw off the bat were, like, the New 52.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, they turned Barbara Gordon into this superficial, boy crazy college student.
Okay.
And I was flipping through the first few pages and I just couldn't. I'm like, I don't want sorority drama in my comic. I want a superhero who's solving crime and is intelligent and is focused. And that was always the appeal of Barbara Gordon. So, yeah, I feel you on that. I couldn't. I did not buy any of those editions because I was just like, nah.
Well, I don't know. I used to be really big into DC, and then I started looking at the New 52 and was just like, no. I mean, it had the opposite effect on me, where they apparently New 52 was to get newer readers into DC because they didn't have to, like, have all of that previous knowledge. But it's like, I came into DC way later and just kind of caught up a little bit, right? Like the comics weren't just like throwing concepts out there and then never explaining where the hell they came from. It was, you know, put a little asterisk and it says Daredevil 241.
Right, and then you go back and you research, and that's half the fun of it, is going down the rabbit hole of discovering all those hidden things about those characters you like.
Yeah, and it was this thing, I mean, it was a thing that up until, I think Marvel's doing are they doing a relaunch soon? I thought I remember them doing, I don't know, maybe at the end of Civil War 2, but that one of the most interesting things about comics was that they're like they're the longest running continuous story-based property, because you consider that they've been going on, you know, there's stuff that happens in the golden age of comics back in the 1930s and 40s that is canon, you know, to the comic book characters. So rebooting, especially because they made Superman into a jerk and Batman into a jerk.
So many just decisions I don't dig.
I don't even know why they're doing Civil War 2, because, I mean, you know, Captain America Civil War was a good movie, but as I understand it, the first Civil War comic arc was considered to be kind of, you know, kind of gross, or people didn't like it.
Very controversial, for sure.
I don't know. Do you even know? Have you seen the rundown of the story for Civil War 2? Where
no,
it's like,
I haven't.
There is either a mutant or it's probably a what they call the Terrigen Mist people, not the Immortals, the Black Bolt, the Inhumans, because they I don't know if you know this about Marvel, but since Marvel the company can't make X-Men movies because Fox owns the X-Men movie rights, they've been pushing Inhumans, Terrigen Mist heroes and like dumbing shoving the X-Men over here and like just get the fuck out of here. Like all of our new mutants or all of our new heroes are not mutants, they are Terrigen Mist. But apparently there's this new thing where it's like a superpowered person comes who can see the future and see if you're going to do a crime. And so now
Equilibrium or what?
Minority Report. Yeah. So apparently the Marvel universe is now split down the middle of heroes who think that you should act before the crime has even happened, or heroes that think that you can't do that. And it's just kind of like, that's kind of flimsy. That's kind of a flimsy, at least
that's been done.
As I understand it, that's what it was supposed to be, but it's kind of like, come on, Marvel.
I don't know about that.
Come on, Marvel.
Right.
I was just thinking, as far as picking stuff up, I can think of two examples. One, not to harp on it too much, but I really enjoyed the multiplayer in Call of Duty when Modern Warfare came out, and then a few years later, I was like, I think I'll try this out again, and I was like, oh no, I can't play this anymore. Like, people have been playing this for so long, and they're so good at it, it's just not any fun to play. And then I actually really enjoyed there was an old Marvel spinoff comic called The Ultimates, where it's they rebooted Spider-Man and X-Men and the Avengers into a brand new continuity. It's actually where the Samuel L. Jackson version of Nick Fury came from, because Nick Fury used to be, I mean, you know, David Hasselhoff was him in that one movie. So Black Nick Fury came from those comics. And they did a thing where, what did the guy at the comic book store say? They took the origin of Spider-Man and took it from one issue and made it like 25 issues, and it was actually a really well written, kind of high school with some web slinging. Then they took the X-Men and they took their first 30 issues and made them into one issue, and then just kind of sped that storyline along. And I thought they were really good when they first came out, because it was a way for new people to just jump on board. It was like a new Spider-Man #1. But then with the Ultimates, at one point they decided that their continuity had gotten so convoluted, because it had been around for 3 or 4 years, that they decided to kill off half of everybody in that universe. And so they did this weird storyline, I guess, where like Tony Stark's weird sex tape gets made public.
Oh, is it with Pepper Potts?
I think it's with Black Widow. I don't know. But then like Ultron is working from the inside. It's like they had this good writing team, and then they switched over to this other team, and then it just became fucking insanity. And when I tried to go back to it, it was like, I do not understand even remotely what the hell is going on here. So, all right. Next up, we got one from Ashanti, who says, "Greetings, Jeff and Jennifer. I think you may have answered this in the past, and I was hoping that you would mind answering it again or updating your suggestions. Hopefully, I am about to begin to work a job that will allow me to work from home or on my laptop from where anywhere with a Wi-Fi connection. Given your extensive experience with working from home, how do you keep yourself from getting distracted? I'm a bit of a hermit, so the prospect of me not having to leave my house for work is delightful, but sitting in the same room 8 hours a day, I'm worried that my productivity will be harmed. Do you have any suggestions? Lighting, work rituals, any advice you have will be greatly appreciated. Also, if you don't mind, I wanted to ask this for a while, but I didn't think you would answer. But after your Marijuana 101 class a few weeks ago, I think that you may be open to the question, what is the personal appeal of recreational drugs and alcohol? My father was a severe alcoholic. Oh, my goodness, Shanti. A drug addict. And when I was a child, so I acknowledge my perspective is skewed, but watching my friends and coworkers intoxicated, roofied, and nearly run over in club parking lots while they stumble back to their cars hasn't done much to change my mind. I can understand a little bit of alcohol to take the edge off, but the idea of me completely losing my inhibition terrifies me. Have I just surrounded myself with a bunch of alcoholics? Ashanti 79.
All right, which part of that do we want to go for first?
Let's go with the easy part first. Like, how do you work from home?
So I work from home also.
Yeah.
I mean, when we're not on film sets and whatnot. To me, it's portioning projects out. Like, I'm going to accomplish this one project right now, and allowing yourself to take breaks is required. Like, you have to get up every 2 hours or so, make yourself a new cup of tea or do something else. Music helps a lot. I have certain playlists that I will have going on in the background for when I'm editing and doing things like that. And when that playlist ends, I know it's time for me to get up and take a break. Yeah, just break it up into pieces is my biggest one. I have to, like, I'll work for 4 hours and then I'll take 30 to 45 minutes off and I'll read my book or I'll watch an episode of something. Okay. And I use that to kind of reset my own calendar, because by the time I'm through that one episode, my brain is ready to engage again. It's no longer mush. Okay.
It's hard for me to answer this question because my schedule is dictated by my lovely co-host schedule. If you can record today at X time, like, I'm ready by that time. And if there's a video that has to be up by tomorrow, I can't put that off. It's like I have to, edit it and render it and upload it and make a thumbnail. I could say that it does help if you can, if you have a separate room, or if you can section a room off to be a place to work that's not the same place where you recreate. And then if you try to keep the two of those separated, I feel like that works a lot better. Unfortunately, my work is playing video games and my downtime is playing video games, so it's kind of like...
Mine's like that, too.
I got this one room full of video game stuff that I kind of just do everything in. But if you can, I recommend definitely trying to get a place that is specific for work if your work is not bleeding over into your spare time, because...
Agreed.
The worst part about working from home is that you are always at work.
Always, yeah. Having a room that differentiates your brain space really helps. My office area is where I game as well, but when I'm at the computer, it's normally work. Yeah. And it is its own room. I only go in there when I'm working, and that's it.
Yeah. Also, I know I've talked to other people who say it's a real temptation when you are working from home, especially if you're not on a set deadline, to be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to take a break from this. I'm going to watch that first episode of that new Luke Cage series on Netflix. If you're going to do that, recognize in yourself, I don't know, the Shanti 79, it sounds like you actually have, from the second half of your question, like a pretty good handle on your own willpower. But I know that for me, it's better to just like, I'm gonna unplug these consoles and put them over in the corner for a little while, because if I open a browser and go, I'm gonna watch one episode of Luke Cage, then it's like, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. This has to be done by 7. God, why did I binge watch all of Luke Cage? Why did I do that? Why? So yeah, that's mostly it. It also really helps if you have. I feel like it helps, or it would help for me if I had either. Partner or roommate, because it's real easy for me living in this place by myself to kind of slob out and make excuses to sleep for an extra hour, or et cetera on down the line. So yeah, hope that helps. As far as the second bit goes, okay, I don't know about everybody else, but I think the thing for me is that, and we've talked about this before, Austin is a hard drinking town, And I was born and raised in this town, and I didn't realize that most people, that the normal state of going out on the weekends isn't going out and getting wasted. That there is such a thing as like moderate, I'm going to have a couple beers after work, because the people that I hung out with are like, it's Friday night, let's go have 14 beers. And so I've been drinking like, a 6-pack at minimum since I was in my mid-20s, like every weekend on the weekend. And I can say that I used to get more drunk, and I used to do bad things when I was drunk. And so I stopped drinking that much. In fact, at my high school reunion, there was this guy there that I used to know, and he was kind of giving me the cold shoulder, and I was like, did I do something to you? And he's like, you don't remember? And I'm like, no. And he's like, yeah, last time we were... This is very embarrassing, but I did it, and I should pay my penance. Last time that we hung out, you got super, 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 super drunk, and I took your keys away from you and told you that if you left, we were never going to speak again, and you punched me in the face and took your keys back from me and left. So I was never speaking to you again, and I was just like, oh, okay, well, I mean, I'm sorry, obviously, and if you want to punch me in the face, you can, and we ended up talking, and it was fine. But, yeah, Austin's weird because Austin will let you drink too much.
Austin is not a town of easy moderation.
No.
You have to have intrinsic willpower.
Yes.
Which I do.
I've never been cut off at a bar before, which is saying something, considering some of the nights where my friends have tried to cut me off, and they should have probably stopped serving me a little while back. As far as but I guess the question is more like why. Do you have an answer for that question?
So I have a history that is quite similar to our lovely questioner here. Mm-hmm. My stepfather was a raging alcoholic when I was growing up.
Okay.
Like, would handle a handle of something in a day, of like a handle of Jim Beam a day, and keep going. Like,
that's
horrible. And loved to get shit-faced drunk and pick fights with me late at night that would go for hours. Because I can't, my personality, I can't stand somebody telling me I'm wrong when I'm not, and forcing me to accept that me being wrong is fact. Mm-hmm. I have this thing where I can't with that. Yeah. And it led to so many fights. It was ridiculous. Yeah. So raging alcoholic stepdad, my mom would socially drink with him to excess because she's a tiny lady compared to this 6'3" dude, Navy military dude. So I grew up with a very healthy fear of alcohol and any substance. I was 21 before I really drank for the first time ever. I didn't try pot or anything like that until like my senior year of college.
Sure.
And those are the only things I've ever done. I've always been a 1 to 2 drink kind of girl. Also, I think my own body chemistry makes that a little easier. My body doesn't do you get to 3 or 4 drinks and then you're like, woo, having a good time. And then you go too far. My body goes from you're sober to you need to stop now to violently ill. My body does not like the effect of alcohol at all. Okay. Like at all. So I can have 1 glass of red wine and I'm fine. Mm-hmm. But if I attempt to drink a second, I will be throwing up later.
Interesting.
It's not good for my body. Just horrible. I have a tiny stomach to begin with and a fast metabolism and a lot of acid in my stomach. So it just doesn't do well with booze. Okay. So that makes it easier, I think. It's kind of the cheap way out. Like, I know I'm not going to enjoy it, so I'm just not going to do it. Yeah. But on top of that, I also have a huge sense of self-control. I do not like being out of control of my faculties, especially in public and in front of anybody. It doesn't matter if they're my partner and I've been around them for years. It doesn't matter what. I just can't stand the thought of not being in control of what I'm outputting. Okay. It's like a huge social conscious thing for me. So I've always been like the designated driver in the friend group and the one person who is cool with not drinking, or like I will have 1 drink and then be fine to on occasion. The only thing I can have more than 1 drink of is like gin and Sprite, like a Hendrix and Sprite. I'll have 2, maybe 3 of those if I'm feeling really surly and I'm not driving. Okay. And that's my other thing. I won't drink and drive. Like that, that drives me up the wall. I can't. I would rather like somebody call me at 2:00 in the morning and tell me they're drunk, and I will go pick them up 45 minutes from where I am. Yeah. Than hear that they've been driving and drinking, because my stepdad used to do that a lot too, and I had to be in the car when he was driving, and not so much of a fun thing. No. So yeah, I don't see the appeal of the overabundance unless it's in a very controlled environment and you've acknowledged that that thing is going to happen and prepared for it.
Yeah.
Like me and a friend are going to go out and I recognize that that friend is going to want to get shit-faced.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be driving. I'm not drinking. They don't have work the next day. They are going to take charcoal pills when they go to bed. They're smart about it. They ate dinner first. Like, as long as you're safe and in control of the environment, I don't see a problem with it per se. But I'm more likely to go eat half a carton of ice cream than I am to drink a whole bottle of wine by myself.
Well, I can also say I feel like we've been dancing around, so we'll finish this up pretty soon. But the other appeal that has always had for me is that I am kind of notoriously tightly wound, and
Shock.
I know. And being that I don't really enjoy smoking weed all that much, there's a lot of this is getting into areas where we're gonna swerve away from the heavy areas, but like there's definitely that part of American culture that's not just Austin, that's just like, hey man, you've worked hard, I'm gonna go relax with a beer, I'm gonna drink a beer, I'm gonna relax, I'm gonna get all loosey, and then you hit on the thing where it's like, one beer, hey, great, good time, I can have another beer, whoa, this is wonderful. Your third beer, you should probably stop. But I've always said that, like, once you get to like beer number 3, the only thing that you want to do is drink more beer at that point. I don't know what it is, but it's just like, yep. And then I've largely managed to get away from shots. That's also a big problem. But like, if you want to go to some other causes, Ashanti, American culture is set up to encourage you to drink.
Yeah, American culture is stupid with alcohol.
Yeah. Like there was a Cracked podcast one time where they were talking about how people in movies and on TV all drink like crazy, but they never are drunk. Or they're either cartoonishly wasted, or they're fine, or they're just sitting there knocking back gin and tonics, and you never see a slur, a stumble, any adverse effects.
That's crap.
Yeah. Whereas, there is such a thing as being kind of drunk there's a whole spectrum of drunkenness. And, I feel like American culture is just like, yeah, we're all sitting at the bar drinking beers and everybody's just completely 100% sober. I was watching the latest season of Family Guy and I noticed that, how they're either sitting there having all of these conversations and nobody's slurring their words or whatever, just drinking beer, or they're just completely wrecked the entire time. So anyway, let's move on. This one comes in from Euro Salamander.
Hello.
Who says, greetings, oh mighty rage lords, longtime fan and loyal Patreon subscriber from the far off land of Sweden here.
Ooh, beautiful.
I am currently going back through your back catalog of podcasts to fill my workday with entertainment, and it is an auditory horn of plenty to my ears. I come to you today with a question about lessons. I was listening to the latest podcast, and a lot of horror movies were brought up, and I was reminded of when I saw Prometheus at the movie theater. It was a weird movie, to say the least, but I came away from it with one thought crystallized in my brain, which is, horror movies do not work without idiots. Have you seen any movies or played any video games that have taught you similar lessons? Your little patron, Euro Salamander. Yes, to the question of what movie that was made in the 80s deserves a remake, I have no doubt in my mind when I say that The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai is one such movie. I'm pretty sure that the internet would collectively just catch on fire if there was going to be a Buckaroo Banzai movie remake. I'm pretty sure that people would just start... There would be much wailing and gnashing of teeth.
Gnashing of teeth.
It did not matter who they cast or what it was. I just want to really see that third Bill and Ted movie get made. That's really what I want.
Really?
Oh no, because the script for it is supposed to be that, like, they're like 40 now, and the future that Rufus told them hasn't come to be, and so they've got to go on like a new excellent adventure to figure out what happened to the future with be excellent to each other and everything. I love Bill and Ted. Have you seen any movies or played any video games that have taught you similar lessons, such as horror movies do not work without idiots? That's a good question. I actually thought, I was skimming these questions, and I thought he was asking something different. I thought he was asking about, or she, I don't know, was asking about the horror movies don't work without idiots, because I don't think that's entirely true. I think it just depends on the horror movie.
Sure. Yeah, completely.
Like the thing that immediately came to mind, just because I saw it on Netflix recently, was the Babadook, the
Oh.
That lady isn't an idiot. Like she doesn't do any seriously unreasonable stuff in there. Or like, those Elm Street kids, they're not doing anything like totally.
Yeah, shit just happens to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas on the other hand, the people in Prometheus had to be really stupid to do a bunch of things.
Oh, that movie.
Here, we've been on this planet for 2 seconds. Let me take my helmet off. It's like, are you kidding me with this horse shit? Or the way that I'm not going to go back down the Prometheus rabbit hole.
Don't do it. Just say no to Prometheus.
Anyway, okay, strange lessons learned from video games or movies. I don't know. What do you think? I don't know if I've got anything for this.
I had been thinking about this one for the last half an hour, and this is the one question that I can't come up with anything good for. Because my brain is ruined right now. I've been watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay.
And so, like,
what lessons have you learned?
The only life lessons you get out of that are werewolves are people too.
Okay.
Sometimes vampires are cool.
Uh-huh.
Always carry something sharp and pointy with you.
Okay. I was just thinking of Monster Squad. That taught me Wolfman's got nards. That was that's a very light. I was just talking about Bill and Ted. That was the first. They taught me to be excellent to each other. That's the
everything can be solved by researching in your local library.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, you know what? I'll tell you what. I was really very, very, very impressed with. Was it last year? Was last year when Inside Out came out?
I don't know. I didn't see that.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh, I was incredibly impressed with the more. I think that Disney's been just like fucking. They've been just doing it because, it's kind of a bit of a spoiler, but the moral of the story of Inside Out. The movie itself is more of a journey movie, but the moral of Inside Out, which I think is really interesting, is that feelings don't have to be all good or all bad. They can be a mix of different things. They can be melancholy, or they can be, and so I feel like a lot of times in today's day and age, we become obsessed with like, I should be happy, I should be happier, or like pure emotion, right? Why am I not having a good time? Why am I not having a great time? Or I'm not loving this TV show or whatever. And I like the moral of that story kind of being that like, there's this emotional journey that ends with this resolution of like, you can have an emotion that's both sad and happy at the same time. That's both angry and joyful.
Nuance.
Yeah. And that's all okay. And that's all totally normal and easygoing. I was thinking about it because I just rewatched Zootopia. They put that on Netflix. Oh. And have you seen Zootopia? Not doing the big Disney thing, huh? No? Okay, fair enough. I'm
not a fan of their current animation style.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
The CGI?
I'm not a fan of it.
Okay. Zootopia was interesting because it had this really this undercurrent. Go watch it on Netflix, folks, if you haven't seen it. It's fun. It's clever enough. But it had this undercurrent in it of like, there's an expectation of what you'll be based on what we see that you are, but that's not who you actually are.
Right.
Like the whole thing is about these. In Zootopia, there are predators. All the animals live together in this big town in Zootopia, and they're like evolved, right? And there are predator animals and there are prey animals, and there's this weird undercurrent about how the predator animals are that. Even though they all live together, the predator animals are at their core are violent and will kill the prey animals. That they're intrinsically violent and kind of not to be trusted. And kind of the whole moral of the story is that like, no, it's not about what you are. It's kind of about that there's more. You can't make an assumption about a person based on looks, right? And it's all kind of woven into this little story about a rabbit and a fox detective solving a mystery, and it's just you get to the end of it and you're just like, well, you did a pretty good job of kind of like, you weren't this isn't Fern Gully where every 25 seconds they're like
Fern Gully,
environmentalism. It's just this kind of
Fern Gully
subtle undercurrent of like, hey man, be cool to each other and try this or this thing,
just be good to each other.
Yeah. I learned that you can eat anything you find in the garbage from BioShock, I guess. That's a life lesson I haven't tested out yet.
That's awful.
All right. This next one comes in from Ty, and Ty says, hello, Jeff and Jennifer.
Hello.
I run a podcast with 3 other people, one of which is a former pastor named Jim, for the purpose of the question.
Funny, my dad's name is Jim, and he's a pastor.
Well, there you go.
Are you hanging out with my dad?
Is your dad on a podcast with this guy, Ty?
Maybe. That's exciting.
The two other hosts came to me recently and mentioned that they felt like they were self-censoring and that the podcast isn't as fun for them because they hold themselves back during discussions. You can tell that Jim does get visibly uncomfortable when we talk about certain subjects. Most recently, gal gun. Well, who doesn't get uncomfortable when you talk about gal gun? Or when someone goes on a rant with a lot of profanity. I don't want people to feel like they can't be themselves on the show, but Jim is also a good guy. And the real kicker is we all work well together, so kicking him off would be pretty awkward moving forward. How would you handle the situation? I know this question is a little heavier than normal, but I'm kind of at an impasse, and I'm curious if you have run into a similar situation, or situation similar to this before. Thanks as always for everything that you guys do, Ty Comstock. Just for reference, do you know what gal gun is?
I do not.
It's one of them sexy Japanese games where it's like Cupid accidentally shoots you with like the super arrow, and so all of the women in the entire world are like throwing themselves at you.
Oh yes, I think you mentioned
it's a rail shooter, and you shoot the schoolgirls with this gun that makes them basically happy things happen, and they fall down on the ground. And then there's also the poking a lady in various parts game.
Oh goodness!
It's a Japanese game. I'm not. I didn't make it. Well, Ty, I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Jennifer? Do you do much like group podcast stuff? Like,
I mean, I do the one with you. I do the forum thread every once in a blue moon. I've been on one or two, but not huge groups of people normally.
Okay. Back in the old days when we did Loading Bar, we had up to 5 people on Skype on the podcast. That can be.
I'm used to panels at conventions,
Yeah.
which are usually 4 to 5 people.
Have you run into anything like this with kind of a differing personality type?
I've ran into, specifically in cosplay, I've ran into people that just have very opposite views on the cosplay community and what is acceptable and not.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people are a fan of you have to create every single thing in your cosplay from scratch or you can't call yourself a cosplayer. And some people are more assemblyists.
Okay.
Which I consider myself. Like I have not to date completely and totally sewed every aspect of a costume.
Okay.
I can see different elements and figure out how they would belong together and how to alter them to make them fit the theme, but I'm not a sewer by any means.
Okay.
Like I hand sew. I'm afraid of sewing machines.
Well, what's that? It's a needle that just. It's like a needle that.
Okay, I can't draw a straight line,
Yeah.
so let alone trying to sew a straight line. Forget about it.
Goodness.
Just no.
Yeah,
and I don't like conflict in public. Like I'll one-on-one address something with somebody, or I'll just choose to not frequent that circle. But that's rough when you just recognize that people have differing views, and there's really not anything you can do about it. Sometimes you just got to call it a day.
I mean, in thinking about this just from the experience that I've had with different kind of group dynamics over the years, it sounds like you might need to either. It sounds like you might need to either spin off Jim and maybe find one other person into. Now you have 2 podcasts: the one with Jim with the discussion, and then the one with your crazy profanity rants, so that Jim doesn't have to sit through the profanities and other guys don't have to self-censor. Or you could always do a thing where you maybe like mix up co-hosts, or you could just do you could spin off either one or the other of them into, just a side project. I don't know. Sometimes it helps to rotate co-hosts. So you could always say like, well, this week it's these 2 guys, and this week it's, just me and Jim, and this week it's Jim and one of these guys. And so that people have an opportunity to kind of have a different style depending on who their co-hosts are, because
variety is the spice of life, friends.
Yeah. But I mean, it sounds like, if this Jim guy is actually literally just uncomfortable talking about Galgun or having profanities, as a pastor, and did you say older person? I don't know.
I think so.
You're not ever going to be able to resolve that. Like, especially if the other 2 people are like, younger and they want to say fart knocker a lot, and this. So you're going to need to probably either split them into different groups or split off into some side podcasts or whatnot.
Fair.
That's what I would suggest. All right. This one comes in from Paul C., who says, "Hey, Jeff and superstar co-host Jennifer. You co-hosts are what keeps Jeff from Broom Grant."
That's true.
I guess. First off, I would like to say that I hope the site keeps going and stays strong because the site feels like a home and has good people. On to the question. If you could call your past self for 30 seconds and tell yourself something that you know now, what would it be? I personally know I would miss the call since I used to, and at times still don't answer phone numbers. I don't know. It would be very upset because I could have stopped myself from crushing my toe earlier. Not one, not two, but 3 different shopping carts.
Ow. Poor buddy.
Hope you don't scare your past self. Love, Paul C. And he says, hope your month is getting better, Jeff. May Oktoberfest be better. Yeah. And talk about Halloween costumes and such like that. So, we're going to have to make up some rules here. You can basically be able to call yourself at any point in the past, or...
Well, for me, it wouldn't matter when.
Okay.
Like, I've got a one blanket thing, and that would be the only thing, and that would be the end of it.
All right. Buy Apple stock.
No. Mine is to trust myself and not look outside of myself for approval.
Okay.
Because I've always been very self-conscious and very hyper aware of what other people think, and I allow that to I used to allow that a lot to change my view, and I would anxiety the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
And that's a thing that the older I get, the less inclined I am to do that, because the more I'm confident in the direction that I'm taking and in the things that I'm doing. So I'm okay with you just don't think what I think, and that's fine. You can think that, you're entitled to your opinion, but I'm still cool with what I'm doing, and where I'm going. So it would be something to that effect of like, fuck all those other people.
Okay.
Just you do you, boo. Just do you, but whatever you're doing, just do it well. Just do it with confidence.
Yeah. That's excellent advice for any age, anytime.
And surprisingly hard to take.
Oh yeah, well I can't follow it. I mean,
ever.
Are you kidding me? I let YouTube comments piss me off on a daily basis. I shouldn't care. I shouldn't care.
Yeah, I'm constantly self-censoring myself and things, and I gotta get over it.
Yeah, me too. I think that I think that I waited in my life. I graduated from high school. I went to college. I went to the first semester of college. And I was taking basic classes and I hated it. And so I was working part-time and I got a call at a part-time job. This is such a my whole life was changed by a phone call. There was a person in town that was doing like cold call. Cause I had left high school, was starting college, working part-time and kind of planning on going into programming because I liked computers. And I wish that, and I was at my part-time job and this person called and I was like, hello. This person was like, hey, I'm calling local computer stores. I have a job here that pays like $2 an hour more than what you're making right now playing video games for a living. Would you be interested in that? And I was like, yes. Yes, please.
Who says no to that?
Yes. So I immediately dropped out of college and started working in the middle of the 90s tech boom where they're paying everybody way too much money.
Woo.
Basically installing and playing video games, doing sound card testing. And then from there I moved to Dell and I spent a good decade and a half bouncing around the tech field. And then went to college for 5 years after that. And then went into animation for a year and then went into this after that. I kind of wish that I could call back to my teenage self. Actually, there's several pieces of advice I'd love to give my teenage self. One, don't let dad tell you what to do in college. Go to college and take the college courses that you want to take, because my dad was like, he was too sensible, right? When I was getting out of high school, he's like, oh yeah, we'll totally pay for you to go to college. Now, the first thing you should do when you go to college is immediately take like math and government and maybe like a language to get all this knocked out of the way so that you can get to the fun stuff that you actually want to do with your life. And if I could have just gone directly to college and been like, I want to make video games for a living, I could have been a developer in the mid-90s at 20, and now I would be
loving life,
retired. And there would be some other jackass talking about me on their podcast about the dumb thing that Jeffco did this week. I also wish that I could go back and tell myself to, 1, not start smoking, and 2, do start running. And that if you just do those 2 things, don't smoke and do run, it'll be fine. And as long as you throw up and suffer like 2 weeks after you start running when you're just, out of shape, your body will put you in shape. You just have to do that. So that's probably what I tell myself.
That's fair.
Also,
Good advice.
maybe buy a bunch of Apple stock too. Maybe
That too, yeah.
when Apple crashes, buy as much Apple stock as you could get. I know it's going to look like a stupid investment. Buy the hell out of Apple stock. When PlayStation comes on the market, I know you don't know what those words mean, young Jeff, but buy Sony PlayStation.
Just do it.
It's a stupid gray box. Just buy as much of it as you can. All right, so this last one, this is going to be easy, comes in from Brad, and Brad says, hey, Jeff and Jennifer, I'm coming to Houston in December for a music festival, and I'm planning to hit Austin up too, since I've always wanted to visit it. If it isn't too pushy, could we possibly grab a beer? Also, any pro tips for somebody with about 2 days to spend in Austin? I was thinking of staying somewhere downtown, just checking out things nearby. I'd say beer and barbecue are two of my favorite things on earth, so happy to take recommendations for places to get those. Though from what I understand, that's pretty much what Austin is made of. No worries if you aren't free to grab a beer or you don't want to hang out with randos from your website. Either way, thanks a lot and keep on raging, Brad.
Raging.
Yep. So I did want to take this opportunity to say, hey, randos from the website, I do want to hang out with all of you guys. You just have to kind of bug me a little bit. Is if you send me a tweet like 2 months before you come here, like, hey, I'm going to be in town at the end of October.
We will forget. We'll
yes.
have slept since then.
Absolutely. I have all the best intentions. I'll maybe write it down somewhere, and then that piece of paper will end up under 15 other things. So you just got to, like, get up on it.
He just said that.
Tell me, like, when, like, the day before, plan for a weekend, etc. I actually picked out this question specifically for you, Jennifer, because I've lived in this town all my life, and I have a hard time whenever people are like, what should I do in Austin?
Well, I'm not a beer or barbecue kind of girl.
Okay.
There's that.
I can handle that part.
I say don't go downtown personally, but that's just because downtown is overrun with drunken frat boys on the weekends and is kind of crazy. But so let's see. Places that are good for food. I would say, like, if you want to go really, really high end, you want to check out the Barley Swine or Odd Duck. Those are James Beard award-winning restaurants. You go in, you get the chef tasting. You blow like $150 there, but it's the best meal you'll ever have in your life. You want to take a cab home. You do not want to drive. But it's like the best food you will ever have in your whole fucking life.
Okay.
There's that. There is the steeping room if you like tea and coffee and pastry and that kind of stuff, which is my favorite. Downtown specifically, Frank and Angie's for Italian food and Huts for hamburgers. Those are both locally owned businesses that are amazing.
Okay.
And the staff are super friendly. They'll always give you a good time. And they're not tourist traps at all. So I've never had to wait for a table.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Ever. Like, they're good. They're really good places.
Like, here's the thing, Brad. People will tell you to go to Franklin's Barbecue while you're in town.
God, you're going to be waiting for a year and a half.
I'm like, okay, you know what? It's going to be December. It's going to be cold. You're going to be standing outside in the cold in December.
Just don't do it.
I'm going to tell you this right now. If you're going to do this, if you have a car, Brad, which I assume because you said that you're coming down. I don't know. Maybe if you don't. See, I guess that's the only thing is that if you don't have a car, I can understand staying downtown because you can actually walk to
walk everywhere.
Alamo Ritz, which go to an Alamo.
Yeah, go to an Alamo.
Go to an Alamo.
All of the food's fantastic. Their beer menu is superb. They have adult milkshakes that are scrumptious.
They also, Ritz is always the one where they're doing like the quote-alongs and sing-alongs and like 90s night and stuff like that.
It's fun stuff.
I don't think that they'll be out with the wintertime. The bats don't, they hibernate, right? In the winter, do they hibernate?
Oh, I've never seen the bats.
No, neither have I.
I'm never downtown.
Go to an Alamo. What I always tell everybody that nobody actually knows about in Austin is check the schedule, see if they're open. Don't go to the Austin Art Museum. Go to the Harry Ransom Center.
Oh.
The Harry Ransom Center is a makeshift museum. There's an annex to UT that has like collections of like letters and scripts and first editions of books. They have a Gutenberg Bible in there. They have a bunch of crazy stuff. It's right downtown in Austin, right by the campus.
I'm learning things.
I went there one time, and they had like a bunch of the original costumes from The Wizard of Oz on display, and then they also had a bunch of like, this is amazing. There was correspondence between F. Scott Fitzgerald and his mother. And they were insanely hilarious to the point where I was like, standing over this glass reading these letters, like laughing in the middle of a museum at the way that F. Scott Fitzgerald and his mother would talk to each other. So Harry Ransom Center that's a thing that I feel like you can't do a lot of other places. It's unique. The Austin Art Museum, you can check and see what's going on there, but the Austin Art Museum is kind of garbage. Their standard exhibits, at least the last time that I went 5 years ago, were kind of like, so yeah, Alamo Drafthouse. That if you're gonna do barbecue, please let me give you this pro tip. When other people are in town, especially if you're going to be in town around December, it's going to be cold. You're going to be standing outside. Franklin's Barbecue has what, like a 2-hour, hour and a half, 2-hour wait to get it?
At least.
Okay. 30 to 45 minutes from Austin, there is a town called Lockhart. And
Lockhart.
Lockhart is like the home of Texas barbecue. There are the 4 big Texas barbecue joints: Croyt's, Smitty's, Black's, and can never remember the 4th one.
There's a Black's in Austin.
Yes, but I recommend this one because it's all coated in 30 years of brisket grease.
My grandfather used to live in Lockhart.
Oh, yeah?
Before he passed, yeah.
But I would say that if you really want to get a Texas barbecue experience, do the Lockhart Challenge, where you drive to Lockhart and you try to go to all 4 of them and get a little bit at each one and try and see if you can not die by the end of it. Round trip plus eating will probably be the same amount of time that you were waiting in line.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I've never had Franklin because I'm not willing to wait in line in the town that I live in to get barbecue, because there's like a billion barbecue restaurants in this town. And I cannot believe that it's that much better. I've had excellent barbecue and I've had mediocre barbecue, and the difference between the two of them is not so dramatic that I can't just go to Rudy's and get $20 worth of brisket and be done with myself.
Agreed.
As far as beer goes, I would highly recommend looking around. Live Oak, what's the Hops and Grain? There's a bunch of breweries here in Austin. So if you like beers, I would say
South Austin Brewery is pretty great from what I hear.
Yep.
I shot a video there once.
Take a brewery tour. There's actually like 5 down the street from me. They're over on Kramer.
I believe it.
Don't go to Jester King.
We're a town of alcoholics.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
You will find your people here.
Don't go to Jester King. It's too expensive, too far. Don't go to gyms. I talk about it, but just don't go. Never told you this before? I talk about, gyms, right? Crappy. Okay. Well, Jim's is like a local. They were just found in San Antonio. They're like a local IHOP ripoff, basically.
Jim's.
Yeah,
okay.
the hat guy,
Jim's,
right?
yeah.
So I'd be on Rage Select, and I'm talking about Taco Bell. I'm talking about Lone Star. I'm talking about Jim's. People are like, I love Rage Select. I want to come to town. I want to eat at Jim's, and I want to drink Lone Star. And I'm like, no,
you don't want to do any of those things.
We have so many microbrews in this town that are so good. We have Magnolia Cafe for your late night hippie.
Oh, Kirby Lane for their queso.
Kirby Lane, yep. We've got all these great places that are wonderful. So, yeah. Also, I would probably go online and do a search, because outside of the things that I just listed off, I don't know, man. I live here. I go to Sonic and stuff, so I can't.
Ask us again in a week, and we'll have more answers for you.
Oh, E6th. It might be.
Yeah, E6th.
E6 is where all the newer bars are.
The Blue Cat Cafe. If you've ever had a desire to sit in a restaurant that is full of cats from the local shelter that you can just play with and adore, then go to the Blue Cat Cafe. Food's not really all that great, but
I don't want to do that.
Well, you're a dog person.
I am.
Maybe he's a cat person. You don't know.
Those cats are going to smell the fear on me. They'll know.
They will.
They will. Me. All right, and that's our show for this week. Jennifer, tell the people where they can find you on the internet.
I am Mayhem's Muse. You can find me on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, PlayStation Network, Steam, all the things as Mayhem's Muse, Mayhem's_Muse. Yeah.
It's very important to pick 2 words that nobody else has those words.
Yeah, and put them together.
Yep.
And then it sticks out everywhere.
Yep.
Because I've never come across a website that I couldn't have Mayhem's Muse as the thing.
You got to have 1 2-syllable word, 1 1-syllable word. You put them in the right order. Boom.
Done.
Yep.
Done.
Yep. Mail@rageselect.com is the email address if we didn't answer your question, if you want to send a new one in. And I think that it's time to go get some barbecue. I'm going to go do that.
I'm going to go watch Carolyn Wonderland at Strange Brew. Oh, that's another place you should go to. Strange Brew, South Austin. Do it.